So what are your thoughts on Moody's downgraded the U.S. Credit rating? So what are your thoughts on the downgrade? And does this make this environment more pessimistic when it comes to investing?
It's concerning a little bit. It's not a huge red flag. It's a small red flag. We've been talking about this for the last 2 years. Like the volatility of the market is going up. Interest rates have gone up. No one wants to buy our debt. I think I saw a report where China hasn't bought a new Boeing airplane since 2017. So we have a bunch of geopolitical issues that have been happening. You never want your credit rating to get downgraded by Moody's. Moody's is also a good stock to invest in like if you were looking for like a B tier company, ticker MCO is one that I like a lot. It's not favorable. No one wants majority of our equities. I know the Magnificent Seven thing has been talked about a lot. I think some of that has been exaggerated. There may be like 13 companies that are really good right now, but it's not a good sign. And a sign of, well, in the middle of a storm, we are not having much positive news besides NVIDIA. NVIDIA has been up forever. The new chip is going to do well, revenue as well. But if we are looking politically, things are not great in the United States. And we're looking for signs of hope and signs that things are going to get better. And we haven't seen them yet. So this is like, if you were already getting C's in class and you got a C minus, it's like, it's not the end of the world, but we're not seeing an uptick in positive news and positive outcomes in our environment. So I would argue this is a better time to invest. I think too many people want to invest when everything is at a hype cycle. But now when it's at the down cycle, no one wants to buy in. This is why I love like the enthusiasm in the crypto space. When we were hovering in the 20s and 30s, low 30s in Bitcoin, no one wanted to buy. But when it was at 55, everyone was going crazy saying it was going to go to the moon and go to 120. We have to buy at the right time. And now is the time for great investors and those who really want to get rich or wealthy buy in.
Yeah, that's interesting that you brought up Boeing when we talk about this. Because yeah, the outlook, I mean, went to negative from stable. Yeah, I mean, Boeing, that's an interesting case, right? Like China is now considering having the freeze lifted from the Boeing jets, but you know who came in and bought a bunch of Boeing jets?
Who was that?
United Emirates. They just bought 90.
Well
90,
played.
Yeah, 97. I don't want to say they're not 737s, they're the 777s. So 90, this is like a I think almost $52 billion deal. So that's encouraging, right? And again, when we talked about politics and business, we spoke about China. Yes, NVIDIA has their new chip, and it's the price point is between 25 to 40,000. Right? 25 to 40,000, and it's more catered toward AI generating products, right? So when we're talking about graphics, when we're talking about text, this is where it's more catered to. This is big business. Most importantly is how that relates to China, because again, every time, well, the past two chips that NVIDIA has put out, there's been a ban where China could not order them, and then there's been bans going back and forth between the two. But these are American companies that have products that the world are using. So how will it affect? I mean, short term, I don't know how much it affects it. But what will be interesting, and I wrote this in my notes, is that what will be more important is what happens this week with the data that's coming out about inflation and the consumer price index, because that will tell us again, short term, will rates be raised, and how long will it be raised, and will it be raised for November or December, and what does it look like for the outlook for January and February? So I think those things are more immediate to affecting our market.
I agree, and it's different because in 2008, 2009, some of the things were come off as a shock. I think we have a much more seasoned and smart investor class now who understands this already. So it's not as big of a shock. But like you said, CPI key, inflation key. If Biden and Xi Jinping have issues in their meetings, that can send the market into a tailspin, but this isn't a linchpin event for sure.
You want to talk about HubSpot?
Oh, HubSpot. Oh, we could. We can go there. Yeah, so
we need a monologue. I mean, but at some point, Mike, we need to ISO.
It was no need for that. It was just an interesting thing. We were talking about HubSpot in Chicago at Market Mondays Live, I told it was a company I was watching, and we were
Yeah.
looking at it from an option standpoint and looking at the analyst research. And I kind of gave people a shortcut into doing the analyst research and how it could be used to your advantage. At the time, I think HubSpot was trading at about $402, $403.
Yep.
And I would just tap in every now and then, like, hey, I hope you're watching it. I hope you're watching it. They had great earnings, and the stock went from, I think, 440. So obviously there was a $40 increase there, up to 470 before trading the day after. And then the day after, we saw it pull back a little bit. But this is a company that we've been watching, especially if you were at the live show, and putting it on our watch list. And we said it here on Market Mondays as well. This is a company inside the CRM space. And it's interesting. We were on a call this week, and they were talking about, CRMs that they're using. And the first name they said was Salesforce. And I was like, oh, great, invested in that. And the next thing they said was HubSpot. And I'm like, that's interesting, because I've been kind of telling people to watch out for it and put it on their watch list. So this is one of those things where you take your time and you do your research on the company. Then you look at all the analytics, and then you find your time to make a move. If you look at its history over the past 3 years, it had a crazy run during the pandemic. I'm looking at the chart here. In 2023 it ran up during the pandemic. It got up to $580 in July of this year. Kind of had a pullback, and we saw that in September and October with tech having a major pullback. But again, if we've been here, if you've been watching Market Mondays, we know what September and October looks like in the market. And so it kind of hit that support line that I liked it at around 400. It hit the line. I said, all right, this is the time to make the move, and we're invested in it. So these are these small wins that take time, right? It might have been a 4-month study to have a 16% gain, but it's worth it in the long run, right? I'm looking at 16%. All right, that's great. Now, depending on how much I invested will determine the return. But again, I don't treat my brokerage account as something that I'm looking at as a source of revenue. It's something that I'm building wealth inside of. And even so, the profits that come from that, right, because it was an option call, it now goes into a longer option call, or it goes to a situation where I might even exercise a call to say, all right, I want 100 shares of this to have it long term, which I've done in the past. Yeah, so shout out to HubSpot for beating his earnings.
And shout out to you for the information you gave in Chicago.
Yeah, hopefully people took care to it and made some good investments.
And if you're not using GPT-4 with these upgrades, Shotty, I know you're on there every day. Man, I feel like it's getting better every week. And for those of you who keep asking me, how can I invest in ChatGPT? Microsoft.
Yes.
Up 61%. I don't want to hear nothing else. Please, put yes in chat if I made you money. Yeah. Apple, Microsoft. It's not hard.
We also met somebody from Google this weekend, and she was another one. She was like, you guys talk about ChatGPT and Microsoft all the time, but you never speak about Google and Anthropic. And she was like, you need to be paying more attention to Google's partnership with Anthropic and da 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 da. So
yeah, you know what? I looked at it. This is the face I have.
Huh? She put that bullet for me and Shotty.
I said, huh?
Yeah.
We don't speak about Anthropic. What?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was good, but those type of conversations are interesting, right? We're at a festival, and those are the type of conversations that we're having. You need to talk about more of that partnership, and that was kind of what Ahmad was saying. There's going to be people working together. Look at the collaborative efforts with big tech and some of these AI generative companies, right? So we're talking about Amazon and Anthropic. She's talking about Google and Anthropic. We're talking about Microsoft and OpenAI. In fact, OpenAI just asked for more money.
Yeah.
Right. They want a bigger investment. The 10 billion wasn't enough. They actually are asking now to have a bigger investment inside of OpenAI for more technology that they want to, create and create more advancements inside of the AI space. These are the key partnerships that we have to be watching. So how do we do it? Ian, you're spot on. Microsoft, right there. If you want to invest in chat, Microsoft. That's it.
Easy. I mean, now in ChatGPT-4, you can come up with images for arcade games and podcasts and flyers and and they should ask for more money, like, because you need capital to increase that gap and increase that market share. So Microsoft's gonna give them that money, and I think they've been a good steward of innovation and that capital. And we already know, like, the AI wars are going to heat up, but they've been doing a great job of pacing ahead. Like, even when growth slowed down and the newness of it went away, they started to iterate and move very quickly to be able to add other features. And this made my life so much easier. So we are officially in the AI era. And I think it's going to cause a great tech boom in 2024 before we get the official recession announcement. But yeah, Google, Apple, Microsoft are going to be the leaders in that space. And if you're missing out on this run, it would be the equivalent of missing out on a social media run from 2009 to 2020.
Yeah, this is
you miss out if you want to, but I'm not.
This is a run. And GPT just added a new, I shouldn't say Chat GPT.
Yeah.
They added the PDF feature, right? We were talking about Anthropic as one of those the star qualities that it had. OpenAI took about 2 months. They said, all right, well, we're not adding that to ours. So now it's going to go back and forth. Well, what will separate? What's going to be the differentiating factor for Anthropic? So this is, it really is a war, and we get to watch it play out pretty much by the day. Right, everybody's trying to top the next person.
Yeah,
I noticed you said Amazon, you said Google, and you said Microsoft, but we didn't mention Apple.
My baby's in there.
And so we'll see who is their partner, or will it be we're going to create our own?
They probably go to acquisition route, and they need it too. Talk about a company that hasn't innovated at a fast enough. For those of you who work in Apple headquarters, I'm talking about with the software at the feel and experience from the consumer side. So I love you guys so much.
Hit the like button.
Yes.
And share. Hit the like button.
And you start to get them corporate emails and calls.
We love you all.
Love all y'all.
Hit the like button and share.